Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 290, and I'm joined, as always, by Lucy.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hey. Hello.
And, almost always, Aadil.
Hey!
Hey, I say almost always. It was only a short stint through the summer that you had your little holiday back home.
Yep.
But here, normally, the three of us, obviously, if you're a listener, know that we get together to talk about video games and share some beers each and every week. If you don't, hi, how you doing? You're new to us. Come and join us and listen to us talk about video games and drink some beer. Talking of that, why don't we open some beers? Lucy, I will start with you. What have you got this week? What are you drinking this week?
Only the one because I haven't been out.
Okay.
I've been busy. And every waking moment I've been playing a particular game.
Okay.
Well, every free moment I've had. But this one I've saved because I really wanted to try it and really have it on the podcast. And it is a Wiper and True beer. It's a double dry hopped pale ale. Hopgarden series number 8. It's got mosaic and cashmere hops in it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, the Hopgarden is a series. It's a series of a collection of beers that celebrates the flavour profiles of our favourite hops. This iteration is all about mosaic and cashmere. Huge amounts of our beloved mosaic brings a punch of ripe mango and citrus zest, which we blended with bountiful quantities of cashmere for a balanced bouquet of herbal notes and smooth bitterness. That sounds good.
Nice.
It's 5% or 40ml can. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this.
Perfect. I've had a few. I've had a few of the Hopgarden series. I think I had number 1, which released like 18 months ago when lockdown happened. The first one last year. I'm pretty sure that's when this series started. Around that sort of time in the spring, and that's when I had the sort of sat in the garden because that time of year was absolutely lovely. Sat in the garden. It was like a perfect afternoon garden beer. So, that looks nice.
It looks nice and it smells nice.
Perfect.
We'll get onto that later.
Yes. Aadil, what are you going to be opening first?
I've got the Rich Yuzu Hazy Imperial Nipa Galaxy Motueka.
That's a lot of words.
It's a 7.5%. Hold on. It's from what are you called? Nepomucen. Nepomucen. It's Polish.
Okay.
Imperial Hazy IPA, in which citrus tropical fruitiness derived from new wave hop varieties has been supplemented with the addition of yuzu. So it's got it's Pilsner barley malt, wheat flakes, oat malt, wheat flakes, yuzu juice. Hops are Galaxy Motueka, and the yeast is a London ale of their own propagation. 7.5%. 500ml can. Its BLG is 18 degrees. Its hop rate is 17.5 grams per liter.
Okay.
Cool.
It's been a long time since we've seen actual, all the infos on a can. So hurrah for the Polish people.
Absolutely. But the can looks good as well.
Yeah. It's got very orange themed. Hence, the yuzu, right?
Yeah, I like the graphics as well.
Yeah, with the sort of circling the various. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, there you go. The outline of the citrus fruit sketch is really, really nice there. So
perfect. I then am going to open up a beer from recent sponsors of the podcast, Haacht. I have the Super 8 Blanche.
Nice.
Which does it have any English on?
I think they do.
It does. It's 5.1%. It is wit beer. It has a tiny bit of flavour text saying naturally cloudy white beer with a generous portion coriander and orange zest different and extraordinary fresh aftertaste. Does it give me anything else? It does say it's got just barley, wheat malt, coriander, and orange peel. 3 degrees, 11 EBUs, 5 EBCs. Yeah, that I think is everything they give me on here. So Haacht, give a little bit of extra info on that. I think my light is killing the bottle, but not one that we had on our episode where we featured their beers. But this came in the Beer 52 box, which arrived a couple of days ago, which had some beers in that Aadil previously had on an episode as well. So I think I'm a couple of weeks behind Aadil in getting the boxes. Have you had this beer?
No, I don't think I did get that beer in my box.
I'm really interested in what it's like because the blonde especially was very nice. So they can obviously do very good interpretations on classic styles.
Yes, and we shall see in a moment. I did see they copied us into a tweet that they sent out. They're now live in the UK, so you can and should be able to just pick their beers up, I suppose, in whatever stockists they've gone into. So yeah, anyone who's listened to that episode or is listening now can have a look online and probably find their beers available now if you like the sounds of them.
Get some of those blondes. But
nice.
Yeah, right, there's not enough wit beers around. I mean, not just because it's winter and it's a very summery beer, but just in general. So
yes, absolutely.
I'm interested in this Blanche.
Yes, we'll roll back round to me after we've come back to you, Lucy.
It's a very good looking beer, as we said. It's basically opaque. Orangey, yeah, from the light. Poured a nice, probably about 1 finger whitehead, but that's since dissipated. But the smell is gorgeous. Just so much orange on that aroma. But also getting like very tropical fruits, like a bit of papaya as well as just
nice.
cracked the tin. Yeah, lovely smelling beer. This better be good because like just the look and smell of it.
It will be, definitely. Not to cloud your judgment or otherwise, but it will be good.
And it is good.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's really refreshing. Nice bit of bitterness at the end. We'll go for another sip.
When you've got a moment, what were the 2 hops in there? I think it was 2 that you mentioned.
It was Mosaic and Cashmere.
Oh yeah, Cashmere. That's why it sort of stuck in my head. I thought, interesting mix.
Yeah, it's got that really like soft, luxurious, like lavender, as always, a tribute to Mosaic, like kind of taste to it, and nice bit of bitterness at the end as well. It's not as fruity in the taste as it is in the aroma, but it's still got, it still packs a big punch with, like I'd imagine there's. If someone didn't tell me the hops, I would have thought there's like definitely Citra in this because getting so much orange in the taste and in the aroma, but yeah, definitely more subtle fruits in the flavour than it is on the aroma. But yeah, I mean, just from Wiper and True, it's just a good balanced beer. That's why I picked it up. I just wanted something classic, just does something, with subtle flavours and just does it exceptionally well. And this is exactly what that is. Yeah, nice bit of hoppiness. It's just a good all round beer. It's why are Wiper and True so good?
Also, another Wiper and True fact: they're pushing a lot at the moment about sustainability. So not only are they perfect normally in the beers that they produce, but they're also looking at enhancing how they're brewing beers. They've been putting out a lot of sort of social posts, and they do have someone employed directly just to understand and coordinate them in terms of sustainability and this sort of stuff. And I think they've recently gone into a bigger brewery. They're still at is it York Road or York Street that they've got down in St Werburgh's, but they have another brewery as well. And I think they're trying to push sustainability as a like a core factor, which is hard as a brewery because of all of the water usage and things like that to really kind of get into it. But it's interesting to see that they are kind of making these moves, and they're not first to start to kind of converse about this, but they sort of seem to be the first that I've seen to kind of be a bit more transparent and open about the moves that they're making and what they're doing in terms of sustainability. And they hosted again, if you follow any Bristol breweries, they hosted an evening which I actually saw Good Chemistry had put up a social post about, where a load of the Bristol breweries all went round and had a big conversation about sustainability in brewing and things. Nice. So we talk about sort of Bristol as being this kind of very beer oriented, very beer forward sort of city in the UK. So hopefully that is now pushing into sustainability as well.
Yeah, it's no surprise that they're the leaders of that charge. So yeah, but like, they're just I just love their cans as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a gold stag beetle and that's it. It's just like, don't need to have the flashy colours or anything. Just gonna give you a really good beer. It's quite light because it is only 5%. I mean, looking at it, it's just like this opaque block. You think, oh, it might have a bit more fullness to it. So I think if I had to give it one negative, it's just I wish it had a bit more body to it. But otherwise, still great. Still a very good pale ale.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. I would probably look for the other entries in the series and see what those are like, because if it's just 2 hops in this, Mosaic and Cashmere, which are hops that I like, I'd love to see what we can do with the other ones. So.
Yeah. Good. Aadil, we'll come to you. Who was it? Nepomucen?
Nepomucen? Nepomucen. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if the C is a hard C or a soft C. I should know more Polish than this, but
Why? Why would you?
One of my best friends in undergrad was Polish, and I dated a Polish woman in my masters.
Yeah, you should know more Polish. How dare you? Shameful.
It is very dark, orangey. I think a little more yellow than Lucy's, but quite thick colored. It comes off in person slightly more orangey, but it's just my lighting here. On the pour, I immediately got sweet citrus. It must be the yuzu juice. On the nose, I'm getting kind of like slightly sweeter, but like when you grab a mandarin from the fridge and you take a bite and there's that like cold sweet citrus taste. That's like what the nose reminds me of, but with OT back end, like just the creamy smoothness you get off of the oat malt. Really nice. And quite light still. It's not like lashings of orange, but it's clearly there. And there's just enough other beery smells so that when you nose a few times, okay, there's a beer there.
Good.
Oh, you're getting that citrus juice all up and right away.
Nice.
Again, those I think it was wheat flakes and oat malt or something. There's quite a bit. You're getting that in the smoothness. It's not very carbonated. Poured basically like this. And it tastes it tastes a bit thick, but almost but kind of wet in the sense of just not carbonated. It kind of tastes a little more like juice. But after the citrus burst happens, with the oats are there still the whole time. You do get this lovely bitterness. It's really light. It's not piney and it's not dank at all. It's this really tight, bitter note that sort of sits there and just sits there. It doesn't really fade, but it's not that strong. But it's so distinct that you can't confuse it with the citrus, so you're not getting any. You know our running joke, but it's a citrusy beer. It's going to taste like grapefruit. This does not taste like grapefruit. Like the bitterness is very much separated from the citrus. It's really refreshing on that first hit. Like I said, almost juice-like, but just enough other beer tastes to not be too, like, I want a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that fades, you're like, there's this lingering bitterness. Again, doesn't dry your mouth out. I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's been a while since I've had a beer that's bitter in this way. It's
grapefruity.
No, it's almost. I don't know if you ever had a sip of orange juice after brushing your teeth.
Yes.
And it brings out like this very distinct. Well, outside of the other, just that distinct like jarring bitterness. Everything else sucks too, but I think it's something akin to that. There's just something just feels out of place, as if something has been masked, and that's why.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll get back to you, but yeah, it's not unpleasant. It's just very unique.
Okay. Interesting. Be good to hear when you get to the end of the beer how that has evolved and changed, and if if it's something that your palate kind of becomes acclimatized to. See, when we talk about these beers, we put so much into these first sort of few tastes. And yes, we do kind of return to them with our thoughts towards the end about how they evolve as our palate kind of acclimatizes to them. But yeah, I mean, it's the same for most beers. The impression is usually within that first few sips about whether people kind of enjoy them or not. So it'd be good to see how that changes, if it does. This Super 8 from Haacht. It's kind of hazy. It's not a big solid block of colour. Don't think you can quite see my sort of thumb through the back. It's just that little bit hazy. A lovely colour, little hint of orange to it. The head, again, as with Lucy's, was about a finger of white sort of foamy head, which has dissipated. Very, very light nose, but kind of as you would expect, a tiny bit of sweetness, but this little hint of sort of not quite spice, but just this little herbal sort of note in there as well. Almost a little sort of like peppery, kind of, I suppose, as you would sort of expect from something more like a saison than sort of a wit beer. But I mean, as you get with a lot of wit beers as well, to be fair.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like coriander kind of.
Yes, and as we said, there was coriander, I believe, in this, wasn't there? I think that was one of the things I read. Yeah. Just straight up coriander as well. It doesn't say coriander leaf, doesn't say coriander seed, just says coriander.
Maybe a bit of cloves as well. I get you.
And it that comes through in the taste as well. It's very, very easy. A little carbonated. So it brings out that sort of zesty orange, that nice hit of sweetness kind of first. And that sweetness is allowed to sort of linger and fade quite slowly, whilst other stuff then starts to sort of peel away and kind of come through. So the coriander does kick in, but it's nice that it's not and doesn't have that soapy note that we often get with sort of coriander beers. This is giving it more of a, I mean, it's coriander, so it's exactly kind of what you're getting. There's this slight kind of lift in, not quite pepperiness, but it does just lift and gives a tiny bit of heat as well, just in the flavour, but only very slightly, just to kind of offset against that zesty sort of sweetness.
Herbalness, maybe.
Yeah, and again, it's something that comes through a few seconds in. So that orange is definitely that sort of that driving force, and the coriander sort of then kicks in that little lift of sort of peppery heat and a little sort of herbal note in there as well. Just combine to not pull that sweetness down, but as it's fading, they suddenly kind of appear and say, yes, we are here as well. And that flavour then runs through. So you've got the orange, you've got the herbal, you've got that little bit of pepperiness, and all of that then just sticks around for this nice, long, pretty wet finish to it. So it's very easy. It's nice. It's kind of one of those beers that just has enough going on in it that it's not like an afternoon wit beer. It's not kind of one of those sit in the sun sort of things. It does have that sort of seasonal feel to it, which makes you think, I could just curl up, I could sit here with me book, I could just nurse this kind of for an hour and sit over it. Not that I will, but you definitely could with it.
I definitely feel that about mine. Like, I thought I'd just knock it back in one go because it is so light and therefore really drinkable, but I'm getting enough flavour in every sip, like every small little sip where it's like, I can just set this aside for another, couple minutes before I go in for another sip. So, I give up.
Nice. Good.
It's good.
Let's sit and enjoy these beers and jump in and talk about the games that we've been playing, any video game news that we want to talk about this week. There's been a lot. And we might not get onto awful humans and the companies that they run and how they treat people. Humans that should absolutely resign and have all of their money taken away from them and never live in comfort ever. Their families, just give it to their family and they'll have to just go to prison. But that'll never happen. So let's talk about maybe games that we have played. I might jump in quickly with some kind of like first impressions of a game that's in early access. I got a code for a game called Giants Uprising, which is by Varsav Game Studios, who I'd never heard of before. My mouse has absolutely disappeared. There it is. Varsav Game Studio. I wanted to click on them to see what else they had. But Varsav look like they have also made, because it's a self-published game. They've made
very angry man.
Yes, they've made something called The Path of Kalidra, which looks very, very pretty. They've also made a game called Everdream Valley, which looks like a little bit of a farming kind of sim game, and Bee Simulator as well, which they developed. They didn't publish that one, they developed that.
I've heard good things about that Bee Simulator.
Yes. But Giants Uprising, it's an early access game. So if you like what you hear about what I think, just remember it is absolutely still an early access game. I've not played a huge amount of it, so this is really is my kind of like first impressions of the title. But you play a giant, which I requested the code because it's the first kind of game where I've looked at it and gone, mate, wouldn't it be brilliant just to be able to stomp fucking everything and just go around and smash stuff.
That was my first reaction to it, where it's like, where are all the giant smashing games?
Yes.
This should be a genre.
Absolutely. We've got zombies in everything. Why aren't we just giants roaming around smashing the shit out of things? And it does give you some of that. So it throws in this kind of like story in the campaign that you are a giant, and gives some backstory into the context of sort of like the kingdom and the world that you inhabit. But you're a giant who has been sort of captured and made to fight in an arena. And the whole sort of premise of the first sort of hour of the game is you escaping from that arena, escaping from the town, getting away from sort of the humans who have captured you. And that feels like it should be incredibly satisfying. You know, it's not just, hey, you're a giant, you can stomp around and stuff. This is, you've got to escape, absolutely rampage through this place and get out of Dodge, get away from it, and then the story can kind of go into whatever it's going to go into. But whilst you can stomp everything, the controls feel a little bit tanky. So
you are a giant.
So yes, this is okay. My two issues: the controls feel a little bit tanky, and everything feels a little bit slow. And yes, you are a giant, so you can kind of expect things to be a little bit. I would say slow, not rather than cumbersome. Things feel cumbersome at the moment. And I think there's lots of ways that they can kind of deal with this. But it's sort of, everything was like, oh, I've got to go this way. Okay, turn to kind of go this way. Oh, it wants me to sprint. And actually, I'm sprinting for a really short period of time. You know, because it's a giant, I'm taking like 4 steps and then having to go through kind of another door to escape this gladiatorial arena kind of, you know, Undercroft area sort of thing. The things at the moment, until I got out into the open, it didn't feel like it was kind of built for giants, which is good in a way, because you are absolutely captured by these humans and everything is sort of built for them, and the giants kind of come second as almost sort of captured sort of prisoners who are made to fight, and things have not been adapted to them but sort of changed more to accommodate humans and things like this. So there's loads of little bits in this which feel like it's trying to stop you doing stuff as a giant, which kind of makes sense but doesn't feel that good whilst you're playing it. And sort of once you're out of this area, then the pathing around the sort of the little fair and the town that you get into just outside of this this arena space is again a little bit awkward to sort of navigate. There's nothing again in the game which sort of says this is kind of the way to go. You're using the environment to try and find out kind of which way you should be sort of heading in. And there's lots of things that I didn't butt up against, but I sort of sat around, what am I meant to do here? How am I meant to get past this kind of point? This is all stuff that can change, absolutely. You know, a few little tooltips here and there can help with some of the stuff.
So is there like, so there's puzzles and it's not just stomping around?
It's not puzzles. It's more kind of just an environment to, at least in this first hour that I've played, it's more an environment to sort of escape. And the way that it's sort of built makes it quite maze-like. And there were tons of times, especially under this arena or in the sides of this arena, where I'm running around and I'll get to a big gate. It's like, oh no, I can't get through that kind of gate. I've got to backtrack slightly because there was a door here on the side which I've got to smash through. And it wasn't quite signposted enough that was the way to go. You know, suddenly I'm like, well, I'm just at the end of this corridor and all of these humans are running towards me. And these giants that are still kind of working for them are coming towards me to batter the shit out of me. Like, no, just got to turn around, take a couple of hits, and get through a door which was, you know, a few paces back down the corridor. And the idea that it feels a little bit sort of slow. Yes, absolutely. It's a giant. You can kind of make that feel slow without the player feeling bogged down. Without me feeling like, oh, I'm lumbering around, rather than kind of being like, yep, it's, you know, it's moving at a pace which feels comfortable. Everything just felt a bit cumbersome and a bit slow.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some tweaking to be done around how that sort of feels.
I imagine they did that to, you know, just portray that you are a giant, but they did it to a fault. Just cranked it up a little too much. But yeah, and it probably fixed in a quote unquote easily. It isn't just make if giant is too slow, +2 speed, but
Yes, yeah. And I wanted to have a look at the tags as well, because it sort of in the tags at least it says it's an action RPG. So again, I wonder whether some of that slowness is baked in to give a sense of progression. For them to suddenly go like, okay, now as you're progressing through, you're starting to be a bit quicker. Maybe your pickup speed is a little bit better. Maybe you run a little bit faster. Maybe your abilities happen a little bit quicker. Stuff that happens in all kind of RPGs. Yes, I now cast this in 0.2 of a second rather than half a second kind of thing. So I don't know how much that's going to be baked into the end of the game to sort of go, here is how we're making you progress. Yes, everything feels cumbersome and slow now, but that will ease as you play through. I think it just needs to be tweaked a little bit to get people kind of on board enough through that first hour to go, yeah, I'm walking around, I'm stomping shit. This is great. Yes, I'm evading capture and trying to get away from this sort of arena and this town, but everything feels really smooth and feels good, and I've caused mass destruction, which you would kind of, which is what I kind of wanted from playing a giant sort of on the run. So it's definitely a title which I think I will constantly keep my eye on, because we just don't have these games, and it feels like, I'm a giant. This is like the ultimate power trip kind of game. Bigger than fucking everybody else, and I can just stomp everything as I go, and that's sort of absolutely what I want from this.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Man-Eater in that sense, where it's like, I'm just growing to be the biggest thing in the ocean and just chomp, megalodons for breakfast. But you should play Gears of War even because there's a section at the end where you're just in this giant mech, and it's probably the best part of the game.
Strangely enough, I just played a section as well of Halo 4, where you get into a giant mech, and again, it's a bit of a slow sort of section, but you've just got all of the fucking firepower and blow up everything kind of in your path, and it's great. And you feel sort of, I don't know why Halo as a franchise has this kind of hard on for these sort of corridor vehicle sections, because there's in the first game and the third game there's these warthog sections sort of towards the end of the game where it's like, oh no, we need to escape everything, get in the warthog and just fucking go.
I played the first Halo, was it last year? Jesus, I probably did that about 20 times.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh, mate.
The last time I did it, the actual time that I did it, it was a hair. It was probably like 0.02 seconds of the timer left to go.
And in Halo 3, that section is fucking awful. But
wanna play it then? I think I've had enough Halo, old school Halo, playing the first one.
That's fair. But this section in Halo 4 felt good. Yes, you felt big and a little bit slower, but you had the extra firepower there to sort of be like, it's cool, I could just strafe over here and just fire some missiles off, and you felt powerful. And I think that's maybe what Giants Uprising is kind of missing at the moment. That instant sort of powerful kind of feel. The first encounter you get when you're in the arena is fighting another giant, and it's doing that to help you understand sort of the combat mechanics and these kinds of things, but it very much puts you on the back foot, and it's just like, oh, okay, I'm a giant, but I'm just fighting another giant, so this is just
I saw that in the trailer, and I was like, well, I wouldn't want to do that, because it's just like, I want to dump on puny humans.
Exactly. It's exactly what I want. It doesn't matter what kind of humans they are. There's a little bit of story with this.
Children.
Children, the infirm, elderly, ones in wooden houses, ones in stone towers. Don't care. Smash them all. But it just, there is a little bit of story with this as well. And it starts off sort of interesting enough and opens up in its sort of intro cinematic with this kind of little twist to it, which is an interesting sort of way that they've the way that they kind of start the game off is interesting. It's intriguing. I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of humour to this. It's quite dark in how it's sort of started. Brilliant. You've already kind of pulled me in. And then I was instantly sort of just drawn back out by fighting a giant straight away and feeling a little bit too cumbersome and tanky in terms of the play. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of tweaks.
We need to do a Castlevania where I give you all the abilities at the front
straight away
and say, this is what you're gonna be at the end of the game, and the witch of the town takes all the giant's powers from him and
just instantly drops you back down again. Yes. Or again, I start off in an arena fighting giants. Had there have been a 5-minute section of even me being captured and waves of humans and giants kind of coming at me, but me being like incredibly powerful, just like stomping and being in this huge like battle to understand how the giant perhaps got to this place might be a bit of a better opening to draw people in and say, yes, we have kind of stripped you of your powers in a way. Either you're injured or whatever, which makes you not quite as formidable in terms of your sort of your fighting prowess. So yeah, there's tons of stuff that they can do with this, but I don't think it has a date at the moment.
That was
so yes, so 2nd of November was the early access date for Giants Uprising. I can't see anything in the description again which gives anything at the moment, but early access it will be however long it's going to be essentially, but as Steam very nicely does these days in your library, if you've got the What's New reel up, it will give you sort of different patch notes. It will tell you about different releases and things like that from the games that are kind of in your library and that you're playing. So it's one that will hopefully be on my radar every time I log into Steam. So
I've stuck it on my wish list because that looks like it could be very good if they make.
Yeah, I'm quite intrigued as well.
Does the giant talk?
Not English.
Oh, okay. Norse?
It's more sort of very low, grumbly sounds.
Okay.
There is a human who's giving some context, who kind of escapes the arena with you, who chats a lot over the top and things. And I don't know whether he can talk to giants or whether he's sort of just interpreting tone and things. But he sort of kind of almost repeats what the giant says. And confirms different, answers to questions that he sort of poses and things like that. So there's a little bit there, but nothing that's going to be like, oh, hey, I'm a giant and I'm actually a pacifist and I hate smashing people. Let's smash all the people. And it's called Giants Uprising, so you can kind of imagine that stuff's gonna, explode and kind of escalate in terms of all of this kind of combat and stompy.
This just reminds me of a totally accurate battle simulator, which actually came out of. I don't know if it came out of early access on PC, but I think it came out on early access at least on Xbox. I have both versions. I think I bought the PC version. I think the Xbox version's on Game Pass. And I dipped back into it, and I was like, "This is just a fun game. I'm gonna." It's got quite a few campaigns in it as well now.
Has it?
It's
nice.
And it's full release, so it's like I'm just gonna go back to that game and have some stupid fun because it plays so much better on a mouse, though. Just like putting down your infantry and troops and stuff like that. But might get it from those Xbox achievements. Because, I can't stay away.
So you've got the itch.
Yeah. Might as well, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's Giants Uprising. It's in early access now, available on Steam. Thank you to the PR for the code, and I will keep an eye on it and keep everyone apprised of how that is going. It seems like a nice place to jump into another game we got a code for, which I think, Lucy, you said you've only been playing one game when you've had the time to do. I think it's probably this one.
Yeah. And I finished it today.
Oh.
I finished Inscryption today. And
Nice.
I started it today.
I did see that you've been playing it as well.
Thank God I did, because I was gonna drive down to Bristol and throttle you and say, why haven't you started this game? Play it now.
I mean,
How
if I
far have
wasn't
you
in
got?
Plymouth all week, I would have been playing it on the weekend, but it did not run. It doesn't run on my tablet with no graphics card.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. How far have you got, Adil? Because I'm gonna avoid all spoilers anyway, but just wondering.
Yeah. So now you're like, I'll avoid spoilers, but Adil, will you avoid no? So I've only played maybe 4 or 5 runs. It's a roguelike.
Okay.
But so I got to the cabin.
You start in the cabin, don't you?
No, the second cabin. Like, so I beat the Tanner, and so there's like a series of bosses.
Oh, I get you. Yes, on the
on the
parchment map that you get.
on the parchment map through. I beat
second boss, basically. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
No, I beat the prospector, the angler, then I guess it's the third boss. I don't know. Basically, you go through 3 maps and then you get into a cabin.
The third boss?
Which one's the third boss? Yeah. No, I think I died on the one that flips. Oh no, I beat the Tanner and whatever. Sorry, I'm confused.
The Fisher, you beat the Tanner, the prospector, the Fisher,
the Tanner and whatever, and then I got a boon.
Okay.
And then I died.
Okay. But
so,
I don't want to say anything. So,
yeah.
But I know.
From whence I have been.
Yes, because you would have said something completely different if you'd got beyond a certain point. But yeah. So I'm not going to say anything. But yes, apparently it's based on very influenced by, let's say, magic mechanics, and obviously you're the magic guy. Is that a true statement?
The magic man.
Kind of. I mean, basically, the grid isn't right.
Okay.
Because basically, at least as far as I am in the game, you're playing a card game against a weird man in a cabin in the woods, and you have like 4 rows.
Yeah, it's like yes, 3x4.
Yeah.
3-ish. 3 rows, 4 columns.
Yes, but you only impact the first row, and then the second row is their like actual. Basically, think of the last row. So it's basically you've got a row of things you can cast, then they've got stuff that's in play, and then you just have the third row is what's coming up. So you get an epistemic advantage.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Which is a really neat quirk, because then you so like. Basically, you want to do. I have yet to do the maths, but like somewhere between 5 and 10 damage, more than them. So there's a scale.
I really like that scale. Great way to,
Yeah.
Just visually portray who's winning and who's not.
Yeah, but also, so like if they've got a card in the third row, then your card in the first row will do damage to such that things get put on the scale, because that's what they're going to do next time.
Mm-hmm.
But also the what I like about, just to stay on topic of the scales, it's not just you've got 20 health, I've got 20 health, who gets to hit 20 first, because it's literally a balance. So if you've got a really neck and neck game, you're just grinding.
Yeah.
Like there's no like I've done 50 damage, I've won, because if you've done 48 and I've done 50, well, we're kind of even. We're barely different. So it takes a while to figure out, but like once you play enough runs, you realize, oh, actually, the right strategy, especially in the early levels, is just be aggressive and like don't even worry about killing their thing. Just do the damage straight to their face faster than they can. Because it's about outpacing them. So if they've got, it's not worth killing their 2/6 if your like 3 damage could go to their face instead.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a really interesting way of managing, as you say, your health. It's a real push and pull, and it's like sometimes you're using enough strategy to, okay, I will take this hit, and he can do all the damage to me in the first round, but it's like not enough to make me wipe out. I'm basically gonna just basically burn that turn and then use my next turn to strategize and put, have enough. Well, we'll talk about how you put the cards down anyway, but have enough of my artillery on the board so I can start chipping back away at his health and get the scales back in my favor. So it isn't all just about. I know you said like in the early game, best just to be just accost them with like all your firepower.
Oh yeah, but I said that literally as in I figured
Yeah.
out that pure aggro can work in the first few rounds.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't. I didn't figure it out when I was just playing the first few rounds.
Yeah.
The way it's kind of like Magic is that there's things like flying.
There are sigils on each card. So
think of them as
shall
abilities.
Shall I describe, because even though you've talked about Magic a lot on this podcast, I couldn't tell you what Magic is, and I probably want to say it because this is a game for people who, even if you don't like card games, you should absolutely still play it. So basically, we've spoken about like the kind of lanes and stuff. To put a card down, you always get these squirrels, which are basically the pawns if you think about it in chess. And to put down other cards, more powerful animals, you have to sacrifice an animal, basically do a blood sacrifice. And the squirrel is like, you can play that without any needing blood sacrifice.
It's free to cast, but sacking it will give you 1 blood.
Exactly. So
and 1 bone once it's dead. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bones are.
So basically, there's 2 different ways of
mechanics.
There's basically a few things that you can cast for free, or things cost blood or bones. And so blood, it means, say it costs 3 blood, it means you have to have 3 things on the board of your 4, and you sack all 3 of them, unless they have the ability of they sack and give extra blood. Yeah. So that kind of means that like you want to. It's interesting because it gives resource management because you have 4 squares. And so I'm going to get rid of 3 of my squares to put down a thing. It must be a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
Or these must be pretty trashy things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's all that push and pull and sacrificing. Okay, I've got like a stout on the a stout rather.
Yeah.
On the board, and a wolf, and it's like, okay, they're blocking the damage from these opponents and they're doing damage to my opponent or whatever. Am I gonna get this grizzly bear and just destroy these 2 so I can just try and go for all damage but still take some damage because I've basically removed one of my cards who was absorbing some damage? And it's all these different mechanics and different strategies, and each of these cards, as you get later on in the game, later on in this part of the game, you start being able to draw these sigils on these cards, and some of the cards come with these. Have you got to this point, Aadil, or
which part?
You were talking about the flying mechanic and stuff like that, so you must have. So
there's definitely sigils,
sigils on these cards, and so it's like there's so many. I mean, there's so many cards as well. It looks like he played Red Dead Redemption and 2, and is like, let me take every animal from from this world and put it in this card game. There's so many different animals, and there's a lot of different sigils, where it's as you said, like the flying one, where it basically deals damage to the opponent directly, no matter what, even if there are enemies in front of you in your lane, or in that specific characters' lanes. There's sigils that if you take damage, you automatically do 1 damage to the opponent who did it to you. There's sigils where it's the cards can swap places or push cards across the board. There's so many. And
so I actually want to interrupt and say, if you're familiar with card games, what I like about it is there's actually so far a manageable number of mechanics. Like Magic's terrible for new people because every new set either has a new mechanic or like a mechanic from 10 years ago. And this is actually like it. I mean, for me, it was like, oh, okay. But also, like, some of the movement ones are interesting because I'm not used to playing grid-based games. But actually, I think they drip feed them well.
Oh yeah, it's
and there's not too many that you can't immediately be like, that symbol means that.
Yeah.
The thing that, like, with there's one thing where it's like, it do a move and then move to the left, and I thought it was always to the left, and it turns out it flips and then goes to the right. And that was the only time I was surprised by the game, because I thought it was like, okay, well, like, I misplayed a thing because I put a thing thinking it'll just jam to the right, and then the right will be like done, right? And then in fact it didn't. But you do that once and you figure it out, right?
Yeah. That was a very funny statement. Only time you've been surprised by the game so far.
Yeah. I'm aware that there's a big twist coming soonish.
Just one, my friend, and then won't talk.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the sort of the tone that the trailers and things like that give players and people who don't kind of know what this is going to be enough of a hint that it is more than a card game. And obviously it's made by the same dev that made Pony Island, and we talked about this kind of last week when you sort of gave a couple of thoughts, Lucy, on Inscryption, and the idea that there is something else kind of lurking in this.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even a spoiler because I mean it's in the demo and you get it straight away because as Aadil said, you're trapped in this cabin and you see your player character isn't just like just a card game where you just see your deck and the actual board or whatever. It's you're seeing yourself within this cabin and you can stand up from the table. I imagine you've done that, Aadil, at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean there's secrets in the cabin. I've found a bunch of them. Some of them are like puzzles on the grid, which I really appreciated. It's like there's like 4. There's like a little safe almost. Not the safe, but and it has 4 puzzle faces. It's like actually like a cupboard, right? But each cupboard face is like has a bunch of symbols that correspond to sigils to the game, and you push a button and it goes 0 to 5. It can move different blocks around with different symbols. And so the first time you see it, if you walked around early, you're like, I don't know what any of this means, whatever. But once you've played enough of the game, you're like, oh, how do I do 5 damage? And then you open the cupboard. And so I ended up like learning an extra mechanic because I was like, I want to know I want to know what's in this fucking drawer. So I kind of just like figured out one of the mechanics I hadn't bumped into because I solved all 4 of the cupboards, but I was like, I don't understand how this works. Oh, okay. And then in them are like, when you explore the cabinet, it's like a couple things that might help you, like maybe a spare card or a narrative card. But really, it's kind of just most of it is about like, what the fuck is going on? And it does not. Thus far, it hasn't answered any questions. It's just been interesting and intriguing. The main core mechanic thus far is kind of like Slay the Spire with like procedural generated map that is several unfurled parchments long. They have steady bosses, but you can take different routes, and there'll be upgrading cards. I mean, and like one of the things I like a lot about it is like you can be like, oh, I have a shitty card in my deck. Oh, I know that thing will let me sacrifice a card to give its abilities to another card. I don't even care about its abilities. I just don't want this card. because I don't want it to draw. So I'll pick a route to like, because it'll never make a card bad getting the abilities. Well, I mean, never is a strong word.
Yeah.
So like you can kind of plan your route whether you want like a lean deck or not. Like the deck building's really satisfying. But there's enough randomness in each run that the roguelite stuff's really good. Like my best run, there's like a woodcutter lady, and you can make little statues out of a base and a head, and the head will be a creature type. And you always start with a squirrel creature type, and the base will be one of the sigils. But one of the sigils is, if this dies, get it back again. Get that card back again. And so my best run was when I paired that with the squirrel head. So every time I sacked a squirrel, I got a squirrel back.
I love this game because that's by design.
So
fully,
this is so part of what I kind of want to know about this before I get into it is, and I suppose Lucy, you're more in a place to answer this, but without kind of being spoilery in sort of
the best person to describe it, because A, he plays Magic, and B, he will not say anything. He will not accidentally say anything.
But so
I'll speak
the kind
to
of
it
so
the
the thing I kind of want to know is, and again through kind of like the marketing and knowing sort of like what Pony Island is and stuff, how much is the kind of the card game in terms of like the percentage of sort of what you're doing is the card game like 90%? Is the card game the game, and then there is this sort of AR or meta or other part that builds into it, right? Cool.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like last week I spoke about being excited to build a deck, and the game is broke up into 3 acts, I'll say that.
Okay.
And it's the reason why I don't like card games sometimes is because it's more of a all-encompassing, I need to build a good deck to fight, to be able to get through this game. And it's like, down to if there's bad RNG or something like, especially in like something that has that kind of like procedural generation, like, and you are going through these random paths throughout this roguelike element, it can be a bit of a bummer where it's like, oh, I've got a really, I've tailored my deck, but because of this piece of RNG or this happened, I just can't do anything about it. This game is absolutely not that. It's very much a puzzle game, which is why I like it. It's because, as Aadil said, there's enough randomization, and there's enough in the meta narrative where you can get out of tricky situations, which is the whole thing about the escape room.
Okay.
It's like, if you're struggling to get through it, you can literally stand up from the table, go to that cupboard and solve that puzzle that Aadil was talking about and get those extra cards.
Right.
And that can go into your deck and help you. There's different things around the room, and it's like the game knows what you're gonna do, and the game knows how to tell you and drop hints about, okay, this is the point in the game where you're probably gonna need this this little thing to help you, and it's just, oh my god, it's so fantastic. But it's the way it teaches you these mechanics, it's just like, it isn't let's read through this massive rule book. It's just do it. The runs are short enough. You know you're gonna die. You have to die usually at the start unless you're really good. And you know what you're doing. You're very adept at card games anyway. You have to die, and it's like, the runs are short enough, and it's all part of this loop, and so you don't feel bad about dying and trying things out. And it's the guy who's sitting across from you from this table, this creepy guy, you can literally only see his like eyes, and he's very much into this, holding you captive and role playing this game. Like at each of the bosses, he literally holds up a mask and changes into this whole different persona. He just says, look, don't worry about it now. Or he says, just try it out, just do it. And it's teaching you by, like, sometimes you have these cards in your deck because you get a new randomized deck every time you die, and it's like, I don't know what this sigil is, and it does this very good thing where if you like left click on like one of the sigils or just anything on like the card or on the table, it'll just bring up at the bottom of the screen, this does this, and it's like, okay, sometimes you read that and it's like, I still don't know what that means, and it's like, you just do it anyway, and you learn those mechanics so naturally and so, just in a really fantastic way, and you're always like enraptured by what this guy across the opposite end of the table is saying, because literally when you're sat at the table, because you can't stand up from the table when you're in a game, he's the only thing that you see opposite you, other than you can look at the table and the scales, and that's it basically. So it's like you have to listen to what he says, and yeah, just the way it teaches you the mechanics, it becomes a puzzle game because you're not focused on your deck, because it's not like you can build a deck run to run. It's not like, and there's so many cards that are thrown at you in this stage where it's like, you're not going to learn everything. And you're not going to be able to build the perfect deck. You just have to figure it out. And as I say, the things around the escape room, the things around the room, they are there. Like, one time I was just like, this run is done. But I had picked up something from the room, and it was like, oh yeah, I have this, I wonder what this does. And I used it. And it's like, even though my run still came to an end, I had other opportunities within the escape room to look for something else, and then and then be like, okay, how can I use this around the room and use it in my next run? So I didn't even feel bad about dying. And I think in a roguelike, that is the best feeling.
Absolutely.
Where you don't feel bad about dying. I mean,
Yeah.
What Hades did for like roguelikes and incorporating a story into it, I think this similarly does for card games. And it's clear that Daniel Mullings, the developer, I imagine he's someone who very much loves card games and spent a long time with them, and probably played more than one of them, and he's someone who understands them from both perspectives of someone who plays card games and someone who doesn't. And without getting into any spoilers, it makes a card game for everyone, and it makes people like me who, just like, whatever about the genre, fall in love with this kind of card game, and just has this whole meta narrative around card games themselves. And it switches from, oh, okay, I like this as a puzzle game, but it's like, and then it switches from, oh, actually, I understand these mechanics enough to want to actually build a deck, and learn the intricacies of the mechanics, and go further in the game by building a deck. And it offers you that, and it's like all this push and pull, and just it's masterful the way he does it. And
nice.
You need to play it, Ben, also.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's as I think I said last week, it's kind of like the next game on my list to purchase. I don't think there's anything else coming out or that has recently come out that I'm gonna. Yeah,
just go out and buy it now. It's the way I played this game. It's like it very much feels like how I played like I'm getting senses of like Return of the Obra Dinn, where maybe it's because it's like a single developer and it has a single vision, and it's like it goes for it and it does it incredibly well. But it's just the kind of game where it's like, I don't want to play anything else. I just want to find out what the hell is going on. I just want to sink further into it.
Yeah.
But it's also the kind of game where it's like, despite that, I've had to take breaks because it's like, what the hell is going on? What is this game doing? It's like the second Wolfenstein game. What was it? Whichever one that was. Where it's just all these twists and turns, and it was like Whiplash, and I needed a break. And it's just like, I need to take a break from this because I have no idea what's going on. It's just just pulls you here and there and everywhere.
Nice.
It's tremendous. Like, I thought Metroid Dread would, be runaway game of the year for me, but it's gonna have to do a lot to maybe I don't know, maybe usurped by Inscryption.
Well, maybe we'll probably, it's one of these games that we'll probably come back to at the end of the year to discuss, maybe kind of in depth, even if it's as part of our kind of end of year chat, maybe we can be a bit more spoilery then around it. People will have had a bit of time with it, which is, next month roughly we'll be doing our kind of end of year chats. So we'll probably come back to talking about Inscryption soon-ish.
Yeah, it may be recency bias, but I think it's my game of the year, and it's a flipping card game, and it's really good.
Madness.
You're done, Lucy. Just don't play any more games. That's it.
I don't need to at this point.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you're happy that it's like, I'm glad I play video games, and I'm glad I understand all the weird things this game is doing.
That's fair.
It's one of those, once in a decade kind of games, and it should be game of the year in every outlet. It's
brilliant.
ridiculous.
Nice.
It's ridiculously good.
Good.
I've just been poker face this entire time. I don't want to say much more, but it's really good.
It's fine. At some point, we will come back to it, and you'll just be like, blah, and just be able to explode about everything you feel about this, about the game.
And it's a really good card game. Forget everything else. It's just a really good card game.
That's the main takeaway as well.
Yeah.
Good. Let's open some more beers. Lucy, you just had the one, didn't you, this week?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just the one.
Cool. So, Aadil, we will come to you. What are you going to drink now? Oh, no, you're muted.
You're muted.
How about now?
Yep.
Yeah, I was whispering. I thought, I suspect the podcast will get it. Sorry. My phone vibrated, and I realized that, like, on my thing that makes my XLR mic work, there is a mute button. And so I was like, vibrate. And then I forgot, which means you didn't hear the few quips I had in the last discussion. I don't think it mattered. Anyway, I have the Cervecera Peninsula, the Golosa Imperial Stout con Chocolate Coco y Nubes, 9.5% Imperial Stout with chocolate, coconut, and marshmallow.
Nice.
It is Spanish. It's in the teensy weensy can though, 33 centiliter can. I figured why not chocolate, cocoa nut, and marshmallow. Basically, spoiler alert, I cashed in all my Beer 52 credits for having it for so long, and bought a bunch of beers I don't normally see in the shops and whatever, and so the next couple weeks will probably be those if they last. Because you know how that goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so that's mine. A nice Imperial Stout with chocolate, coconut, and marshmallow.
Nice. I am going to drink Stay Out, a double IPA, 8% from Neon Raptor. I will see what information it has. Oh, it's a collaboration brew with our friends over at Neon Raptor. Oh, it's not a Neon Raptor beer. Their name's that's why. It's by Drop Project as well. So it's a Drop Project beer collaboration with Neon Raptor. It has got Eldorado, Idaho 7, Azaka, Cryo, and Simcoe Cryo in it. Also has barley, wheat, oats. Doesn't tell me the yeast. It's vegan friendly though. Drink fresh, enjoy socially, peace. This is made at Drop Project are in Mitcham.
Oh.
I don't know where that is. Don't know where Mitcham is.
Isn't it?
That's London, is it? Okay.
North.
CR postcode. What would see? Croydon? London? Croydon, maybe? Don't know. Not a clue. But I was away for the weekend. I picked up a load of beers in the random kind of not bottle shop, but enough of a bottle shop that they had several craft beers in to drink at the weekend, and this one just happened to not get drank. So I thought I would drink it now. I did have another beer from Drop Project, which was very, very nice. I don't think I've ever had anything from them before, so this is 2 in about 4 days. But I saw Neon Raptor and I thought, I don't get many beers from Neon Raptor. I don't see them a huge amount, so I'll pick this one up.
I see them all the time up here, so don't know.
Where are Neon Raptor from?
Didn't you say Mitcham?
No, that's Drop Project.
All right. Neon Raptor, Nottingham. Mitcham is southwest London. Sorry, not northwest. And
what's northwest London? Like, don't know, Ealing sort of way, I suppose, isn't it? Like
Neon Raptor.
Or southwest. Don't know. Who wants to go to London anyway?
No one. Terrible water. Surprised the beers come out alright, to be honest. Neon Raptor. About. I don't know why I didn't just stick it in Google Neon. My Google skills need help. Neon
I mean, the standard, the Google man is preoccupied with his beer rather than.
Is that where Mr. Jeeves went? Yes, East Midlands, Nottingham. Yeah,
okay, yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, probably why Midlands. We'll probably get them more.
Cool. Well, that's what I'm drinking. Stay Out from those two double IPA. Yeah. We're back to you, Aadil, for the Golosa.
Yeah, Golosa. Golosa. I don't know if you can tell. There's this really interesting line art of a cake.
Yeah.
A little bakery.
Very
something.
Nice.
Anyway. It poured extremely thick and dark, which you shouldn't be surprised at, given that it's an Imperial Stout, 9.5%. It does have a little more brown tinge to the head than sort of a white creaminess. Boy, do you get that coconut and the chocolate off the nose. It like starts like, it's a bit chocolate, and then you're like, oh. I can't think off the top of my head what a chocolate coconut sweet is, but that's what this smells like. It doesn't smell quite. It smells a little artificial coconut. There's a bit of depth there that's like, nah, this isn't
like just desecrated coconut. That's
desecrated.
Yeah,
desiccated.
Desiccated.
I like desecrated more.
Desiccated coconut. That's a bit desecrated.
Yeah, so there's some depth there. I think it might actually just be the maltiness giving it a bit of a backbone. I wouldn't be surprised if the coconut added it was desiccated, just because it has that tinge to it.
Learn so much on this podcast.
It's nice and smooth. That 9.5% is really gives it a rich thickness. There's also there's just enough carbonation. It gives a bit of a effervescent pep.
Nice.
The marshmallow is coming through mostly because it feels kind of puffy and floaty. And that's, I think, it's more of it's coconut with a touch of chocolate than chocolatey, which I think is actually a bit disappointing because the chocolate notes are interesting, but they're very fleeting. And it might, this is probably just my personal preferences coming in. It's just like, I want more of there's a slight, like, on the finish, there's like a bit of a burnt, slight acrid note of that reminds me of like the coffee or rich chocolate, dark chocolate tastes that you can come off of stouts, and they're just not enough there. It's just like this hit of, oh yeah, these are notes that would work really well, but they're not really here, rather than yes, because I think that would support and like buttress that coconut really well, and like the type of chocolate note that's coming in is really interesting but kind of fleeting. It's just
Feels like it needs more of a chocolatey base rather than we just put a bit of chocolate in it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It feels like, oh yeah, there's some coconut. Oh yeah, there's some chocolate. But actually, in an Imperial Stout, because of what's going on, the chocolate is kind of should be the centerpiece just because of how just the taste family involved. And it's just not quite there. And like the only time I notice the marshmallow, like I said, is in the notion of it's pulling things away. So maybe it'll grow on me. I mean, I'm curious once it's sort of my palate acclimatizes whether I'll see more detail on those. Excuse me, those notes. But right now, it's like my report cards from elementary through ever, which is the big P word. Like it tastes like potential.
What have I got?
Yeah. Brilliant. Good. Interesting that they've given it, provided it in a small can. Like, perhaps that's because of it being a, what was it, 9-ish%, something like that? 9%?
9.5, yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed in that. I mean, like, when you said the carbonation, I would have thought, I thought it'd just be like, at that strength as well, just like have a really good malty base and just be like thick and, rather than just feel like it's got these things just sprinkled on top of it.
Yeah. And again, whether it's sort of just baked into my brain that, 9.5% stout with all of those adjuncts, being in a tiny can, you expect it to be the richest thing you have ever drank, and they've made that choice. They've gone, it's in a small can because this is enough for one person. That's sort of what I was expecting you to sort of say, like, this is the richest thing you've ever drank. Like, so
Munson's dessert in a can.
Yes,
like that,
exactly. Like, yeah. So
versus desert in a can.
That may not be as good.
Right, this collab then, this double IPA drop project Neon Raptor. It's got a nose which is very familiar for modern double IPAs. It doesn't quite edge into the sort of sweaty, earthy dippers of late, those kind of oniony, earthy sort of ones. But the nose is edging on that. It's like super ripe kind of melon. It's a lot thicker in colour or in consistency than the previous beer. It's a little bit more orange than is currently showing on the screen as well. But the flavour, whilst it does give me hints straight away of that kind of, the 2021 sort of dipper, it's really, really soft. Like, incredibly soft. And dials back on that earthy, really incredibly ripe note straight away. That is there. It kicks off with that, but it softens so much and has a nice, almost kind of very subdued tropical sweetness to it. And it's subdued because of that, because it's a modern kind of dipper, but it's there just enough that it's just balancing this out very, very easily. It's a lovely sort of very quick but very lovely little journey through these kinds of flavours. It's almost like it's 1 foot in 2018 and 1 foot in 2021. It's kind of trying to be not trying to be a juice bomb, but it's almost trying to get back to that whilst still having those notes of a 2021 double IPA. Yes, it's got this very, very ripe melon. It's a little bit sort of grapefruity, but it leans into those earthy, oniony sort of notes at the start, and then there's that lovely softness, a lovely sweetness in there as well, just balancing it out very, very easily. And this will, because it's really light and soft and doesn't have much carbonation to it, and isn't a big hit of flavour. It's not a juice bomb in terms of like hitting your face full of flavour. It's very sort of medium flavoured, medium body. That means that this will just disappear. The previous beer, a little bit more carbonated, nice to sort of sup on it and take my time over it. This will just fly back because it's so easy. And I think that I had and the other beer I had from Drop Project at the weekend. I remember it over, say, the other ones I had. A couple from Pressure Drop and other things. Go to Brighton and don't drink any beers from Brighton because the bottle shop just didn't fucking have any. But I did have a few in the pub from a couple of notable sort of breweries. But this is the one I had from Drop Project at the weekend. We just ordered food. I had a Thai red vegetable curry, and the Drop Project beer alongside that just felt incredibly heavy. Right. It was thicker, it was boozier. It was, again, another double IPA, but it just felt heavy. This is incredibly light and soft and pillowy and just really, really lovely. And makes me think I need more Neon Raptor beers more than anything. So
yeah, they make good beers. I see. Well, I do pick them up from time to time. I should pick them up more often because they're very highly rated. I don't know why it surprised me. Because I was just like, oh wow, people really like Neon Raptor, and I do too. Maybe it's just because I think anything from Nottingham is crap. It's a crap city, but maybe that.
I mean, I agree because they didn't give me a job, that university that's in Nottingham.
It's such a
dare they?
City. There's nothing there. Stay in Bristol. I think there's a tram and that's it. To be fair,
just one. Just one tram. In a museum.
10 years, but it was boring back then. Yeah.
Good.
I should mention, I tried those this year's Siren beers,
yes,
the Caribbean chocolate cake, before they went on wide release. I think, are they on wide release now? They might be going on wide release maybe this weekend or something like that. Yeah, you can go read my thoughts. I actually resurrected my dead site. Beer is it was like July 2017 the last time I wrote anything on it. Yeah.
Really? Has it been that long?
It's been that long.
Oh.
Yeah. It's incredible how time just passes and you're just like, what? What was I doing when I was 27? Not much. But yeah, you can go read my thoughts there. Just check my Twitter.
Nice.
It'll be there. But I do have to say their Nitro beer was the pick of the bunch. It's like a very luxurious Guinness, and it was really good. So yeah, but yeah, that was very nice.
Brilliant
to be one of the 10 people in the country to try them before.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Special. But yeah, no, I'm not so special anymore because everyone else can drink them soon enough.
Yeah, it's just gone out to all the rest of us plebs that we can just pick it up wherever we like.
The hoi polloi can drink them. It's like, get off my throne, my ivory tower now. So yeah, but yeah, I really recommend that Nitro one because it's a lighter beer. I think it's 7.4%, but it just feels so full and like completely the opposite, as you said, to the Golosa Aadil, where it's like it's got everything, and it's quite light, but it's like it's one of those where you could happily knock a few back, but also just be happy with just one because it's just it was very good, very very impressed with that one. But yeah, so look out for those, I guess.
Amazing.
In the coming weeks.
That's good. Let's jump back into then, I suppose, our last topic for the episode. Aadil, what do you want to chat about this week? Was Inscryption sort of your main talking point this week, having had some time with it as well?
It was well.
Are we
I
talking
mean,
about Inscryption more?
so there's that. I don't know if you guys have had any more time with Forza.
Yes,
I haven't
I have. Yeah.
started it.
Okay. And the
I've
only
got
thing
an Xbox though to play it on there.
that's actually why I brought it up. But
Mm.
before we talk maybe a bit Forza, I just wanted to say that I did commit to playing more of that Hermitage Strange Case Files game. I played it a bit on the train. And if you like the storyline of the first few hours, maybe you'll like more of the game, but it introduced like observe this person while you talk to them, and you got like flavor and whatever. Like there's a lot of hints of mechanics, but I have a sneaky suspicion the mechanics are just, when it comes to it, play the matching game of clues. Like you collect clues, and then you have to solve a thing, and you have X chances to solve it. So I presume the bad endings are if you don't solve it right away, or whatever. You don't pick the right 3 clues that lead to the right conclusion, and it's all mostly deduction, some induction, like some guessing, educated guessing. But all the new-ish mechanics didn't give me more clues. They just gave me more flavor.
Okay.
And so I don't think I'll go back to it because I didn't think that it introduced intrigue that just felt kind of stale, cardboardy. Yeah. So it was like, it turns out there's a guy who mysteriously installed you into the bookshop. Oh, he's come back and he's given you books to sell. Oh, you've put them in a corner. I don't care. It didn't grip me enough. So it was like, all right, okay, I don't care about that. I kind of I saw kind of the through line of the next two. It's like, oh, okay, so I think this is what's gonna happen, and then it took me like an hour to just figure out that was what the game wanted me to say happened, because obviously the game. I'm saying canonically, the game is saying it happened when I solve a thing and it tells me this is the thing, and it's like I kind of figured this was going on, but it took me a while to get to the point where I could tell the game I was pretty sure this is what was going on.
It very much leans into the visual novel aspect kind of thing.
Which
scene and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, which means I need to be gripped by the storyline, and I just wasn't. And then I actually kind of begrudge them adding things that felt like mechanics that weren't.
Yeah. I think you have to be in the right headspace to kind of play those games as well. Yeah, that's why I try and be very selective when I read, narrative heavy. Not read. Yeah. Freudian slip there. When I play very narrative heavy games, it's like I know I have to be in the mood to play one of those games. But some people love those kinds of games like Phoenix Wright and Professor Layton and stuff like that. So. It is definitely going to be for a certain type of person who likes those games. So.
Yeah. Cool.
But
Forza Horizon 5 then.
That's like the complete opposite, isn't it?
Absolutely. I have been playing a little bit of it. A snatch sort of 5-10 minutes kind of here and there.
Which, just pause now. This is one of the reasons I really like the game, is that it doesn't demand long play sessions.
Yes.
Or at least, there are ways of playing it that don't demand long play sessions.
No, you're absolutely right. How long is a race?
Yeah.
You can just do one race.
Absolutely.
Or one speed trap.
That's what I've kind of been enjoying about it. It's kind of, and I know when we've talked about it before, in the Discord, Lucy, you said, do I get a racing wheel kind of for this? And actually, the more I play it, the more I kind of feel that wouldn't be a bad shout, because it's not quite as arcadey as.
Don't let me waste money on a racing wheel.
No, get that PS2 one hooked up.
I've got the the PS2 adapter, which Adil helped me find
Yes.
because
Yes.
I didn't realize putting PS2 in Google came up with some other weird like port instead of PlayStation 2.
The original port for keyboards and mouse pre-USB was called the P/S2.
That's the little purple one in the back of the computer, isn't
The
it?
purple one
Little
and the
purple one.
green one.
Yes.
It was just the PS2 keyboard purple, PS2 mouse green.
Yep.
Yeah, that was no good for Google and set me down a weird rabbit hole. Can I do this?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But and now,
Why are there none of these adapters for PS2 to USB? That. Yeah.
but now you're
Seems
there,
right.
and now you've got it. It does seem like the kind of game that you would get a little bit out of it with having kind of a steering wheel. It is just simmy enough.
Well, it can be more though, is what I like about it. Like,
is this your first Forza games?
It is for me.
For each
Yeah.
of you?
I played Horizon 3 a bunch.
Yeah.
That was 2016, right?
God knows.
Yeah,
It was
I
the one
played.
before the 4.
Yeah, so I played with former Wool peeps like.
Oh yeah, I remember
Dave.
playing that once. I think.
Yeah,
think
I played a
I've done
bunch
that
when I
twice.
first got my Xbox One. Back when I lived in the place where my flatmate yelled at us for whooping at the PSVR, Ben. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah,
that, yeah.
at noon on a Friday. Oh my god, VR! Why have you ruined my life? Yeah. Anyway, I played that a bunch, and then I got 4 a couple years later, and didn't have people to play with, and just didn't quite get into the locale as much. And this
I
one,
don't like England, sir.
um,
Don't you go back to Canada?
Got to drive on the left, mate. Makes no sense.
but this one, like, except for the like dumb intro, which I get because if you're new to these games, it's like, here are all the ways you
They're
could play
so
this
much
game.
fun.
Uh,
Or is it
I think
you
it was
mean the very intro, or like?
I mean the very
racing
intro.
against
They
them?
like, here are the 4 plane drops. It's kind of on rails, but it's not on rails.
I
But
love
you don't really
that.
feel like, I didn't. Yeah.
I love
Anyway,
that 'cause it's so. You're right. It is very on rails, and it's like but it's like you beat the, I don't know, train or hovercraft or whatever it is you're racing against.
yeah.
It rubber bands so well.
There's a bunch of those races in this as well. If you
Yeah.
want to do
yeah.
those.
So what
Those
I
are
was
like
say is, what I like about it
big
is
things in the
there are
campaign.
plot things to do, and then there are
Mhm.
decidedly not plot things to do, and you can kind of just drive. I found myself
Yeah.
so like, I got myself, because they have a Austin Healey 1960 something 2. It's the closest thing I can get to my dumb car that I have in Canada, Daisy, than a 58 MGA that I own, and it's slow. But I got it in black, and it's a convertible. It's a dumb British roadster, and I kind of like just driving around like Mexico in that.
Destroying ruins, destroying ancient
But
ruins
also,
in
like,
Mexico.
so the cars I've bought are that and a DeLorean.
Okay.
And I know I can make the DeLorean drive well if I go into the tuning, which that's the one part of the game where I'm like, oh god, there's like, as soon as you open it up, you're like, oh no, I don't
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've not gone into that menu because it's just like it's too much.
But I
Yeah.
I like this game because it's pretty. You don't need to. You can do well. You can
very
have fun with this
arcadey,
game without.
yeah.
So like, one of the cars, you also unlock cars a bunch kind of randomly. There's a wheel spinner that gives you money if you wanted to buy cars. But I got a 2005 Impreza STI. It's like what I would choose, like the style of racing, like slight drift but some speed. It's a C class or whatever, and played a bunch of races in that, street races, and did well to the point where the game was like, you need to be above average. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I did poorly, and then I started to do well again, and it was like, right, this is good because I haven't had to tweak this car.
Yes.
And I don't know how I feel about drivatars.
Oh, they've been around for a while.
But other than that, it's to be honest though, it's more of because it's like, really, I know Ben hasn't played this. Does he have a fucking Lamborghini? Because apparently he does. Like, I don't like.
I definitely
It's just
don't have
slapping a name.
Lamborghini.
Yeah. So, like, I don't like that part of the Drivatar thing. I like the idea of bringing people off your friends list, but when it's always the same 4 people and they just conveniently have the same car as you, or
A better car.
the plus or minus on stats, right? And
it's okay, but I think if I never realized the nuances in how a Drivatar is like pulling data from how you drive and then putting that in your game. I never get a sense of that because I mean, if I was in your game, I'd just be shunting you and then just moving you off the road. But it's like none of the Drivatars do.
Yes,
that
that's exactly what I would do. You know, suddenly that line that shows you the perfect line to go around the corner on when you should be braking. Normally, it goes red that you brake, and I'm like, but there's a car just going around the corner. So if I just accelerate and smash into that car, I'll go around faster than everybody else. And I can't imagine that my Drivatar, appears in your game and does that constantly. It is just, here is a bot with your friend's name on it.
Yeah. It's always been, very much, not maligned, but like ridiculed, because it's like, this doesn't really do anything, it's just other people's names. Just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think these are the best. Like, I've fallen off. Well, I had fallen off like racing games for several years. Like, I love Need for Speed. Like, before that, I guess racing games was just like a staple. But yeah, I really got into Forza Horizon 4, and these are like the best racing games ever made. And people say, "Oh yeah, Burnout." It's like, hush your noise. These are, apart from like the economy and just throwing tons of like different currencies and tokens at you, and it's just like, what does any of this do? Who cares? When you really boil it down and just like to the driving and how there's always something for you to do and just how beautiful the games are, these are the best racing games ever made.
So I've played a reasonable amount of it. I know I played a little bit more than you have, Aadil, because I've dipped in and out over the last few days, and it pops up saying you have discovered this many roads or these many things, and it will say someone else, and it always picks you. It always says it's you that has done these things, and it's like, I have now discovered 200 roads, and Adil's discovered 130 roughly.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then
the reason it's because you don't have very many people as friends on Xbox.
Yes,
but I owned an Xbox for a while, so I get these randos. Like, Fixer's one of the people. And Bob is one of the people. Like, full-time streamers on my friends list, it's like, oh, yeah, cool, I beat that guy in a race. No, I didn't. It's just his Drivatar. But also, for a small point in time last Wednesday, I saw more roads than Fixer.
What an absolute noob. He's only seen 200 roads.
Yeah, exactly. So, the thing that I kind of get from this is that it's great in terms of that like little snapshot. Like, yes, I can play 5-10 minutes and just do something, and I love that I can just explore the map and drive around, and there's all of these other bits that I can kind of do. But I still prefer the driving mechanics of Drive Club than I do of Forza Horizon, and it just makes me think more so, completely. If Drive Club had gone this way, rather than trying to match, say, like Gran Turismo in here is a race, all menus, all picking races, all of this. If it had gone more like an open world kind of thing, you would kind of expect that maybe by the Motorstorm kind of people that would be the sort of the next step that it would have taken. That Drive Club was so solid in its driving mechanics. And I find I'm trying to sort of, and I'm trying to drive as if I would in kind of a Drive Club, and that works very, very well in Forza Horizon. And
what you need to do is go to the subreddit of two people who are like Drive Club Forever.
Exactly.
And download their mod on how to tune the Forza cars to
find this
Drive
like
Club
Nissan Skyline, and they tell me exactly how I should tune it to make it a S-Class car or something. But I do like I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's a great little kind of just 5-minute game. Being like, yeah, just play a tiny bit, just lose a bit of time in it. But the one thing I find very, very odd is that a big sort of stink was made out of it being in Mexico. It's like, hey, we've gone from the UK or England or wherever it was kind of set in for. We've gone to Mexico. There's a couple of people with Mexican accents, and this is where it's at. And that's it. That's the only Mexican influence. All of the radio stations are like British DJs.
Oh, that sucks.
And it's like, hang on, this shouldn't be like this. This should be like, it's gone to Mexico. Immerse me in this space. Like, take me there. That, it's not just here is some deserts and cactuses. Here is some kind of like swampy areas. Here is this kind of stuff. It's don't just environmentally do that. Take me there as a full kind of package. Yes. And with a driving game, you can't do that in terms of the cars you're driving, because that's kind of worldwide. You will always have cars from lots of different countries. But there's tons of ways that they could have immersed me a little bit more in it. And I think that's why I'm happy to just play it in these little snapshots. I'm not immersed in the experience. I haven't been kind of pulled in. Yes, it looks, well, I say it looks nice. I've been playing it. I've been streaming it on my browser, and my connection is making it look like absolute shit.
It will. To be fair, they have, by the looks of it, like recreated like Mexican landmarks and monuments and stuff like that. But they got, I think there's something as you open the game where it's like, yeah, we got permission from the Mexican tourism board or something like that. And it's like, so they have tried to faithfully recreate some, Mexican, heritage and stuff like that in it. But yeah, having no, music, I don't know if it's a licensing thing, but it shouldn't be, because you can always, I mean, this game will be pulled from the store from having licenses from the cars, so they can definitely do it from the music.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that sucks. But I hope there's the same classic FM radio.
I think there is a classic FM radio.
Good,
yes,
because there's nothing better than racing against a train.
I've
been like Beethoven.
I've just been racing to like the D&B radio station.
I've also
mostly
been pretty electronic focused, but
I mean, FM is the way to go.
I agree. I found it at the end of the last session, and I mean, it's fun.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of like what I like about it. Like, I've unlocked a bunch of the campaign tickets. Like, you start in an area, and then it's like, you like street racing, or so you like circuit racing. Okay, well now you have to go over here and drive a long way to unlock events that way. But because I'm a bit of a completionist, on like, I just want to do well at the races that I've unlocked. By the time I got to the second area, I had already asked me to unlock a new area, and but like each of the areas has 3 levels of depth to them. Basically, I chose to unlock everything just because it's like, I don't know, I don't think I like dirt racing, but also that one rally race you kind of forced me to do was fun. Is that what you mean by dirt racing, or do you mean using the Chevy Bronco that you gave me? Because I don't ever want to drive one of those. Like, it's got enough going on that you can kind of just putz about and not feel like you're wasting your time, even if you make the wrong choice, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, in these games you can just jump into a race immediately, like, whether you're just like driving from one end of the map to another. There's so many little things to do in between, and races or just hitting things in the environment and getting
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also
reward
like
points,
cooperative
whatever it is.
arcade shit that I've tried once or twice, but there weren't people around, so it never
Mhm.
worked. But I mean, I think I will easily keep picking this up off and on just because it scratches an itch I haven't had in a long time.
Absolutely.
They're just
And
great
it's
games to
fun.
play now and then. Yeah, like I'm glad there's been like this groundswell of like people actually like reviewing the game well, obviously because it's good, but just finally noticing these games because they're so good, they're fantastic. Like even if you're a lapsed fan, in terms of driving games, these are the perfect game. It's just entertainment, just non-stop entertainment. And they're pretty as hell. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm glad Playground. I mean, Playground have got a win every single time, but it seems like people are, noticing this time.
Absolutely, and I can
Probably
see
by virtue of it just being on Game Pass
with
and
them
that working,
Yeah,
being more available to
yeah.
people. So.
But with Playground, they're UK based, aren't they? So I can
Yeah.
see why they've made some design choices in terms of, the
Driving on
radio
the left.
stations and those sorts of things. But it's an odd one as well that I would imagine that Microsoft have done enough research in that, they've not just gone, hey, here's Forza Horizon 5. Oh, you've had a week with it. You've had enough of that. Now here's some Halo Infinite multiplayer. And like, just dropped that yesterday or the day before, whenever that kind of released. That they know enough, market share wise, that they're like, right, yes, both are on Game Pass. We have this many people. We've sold this amount of Forza games in the past that we know that the install base is this, but we think it's different enough from the Halo people. It's kind of that.
Yeah, I think it's completely different.
And I would hope so. I would absolutely hope so. That in a week's time, we don't see when they're 9 million people have been playing Forza Horizon 5. That in another week's time, they're 9 million people are playing Halo Infinite multiplayer and 12 people are playing Forza Horizon 5 now. It won't be that extreme. But I'd really hope that they have done enough research to be we can consistently be 5 million of these people will still be smashing out Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's always live updates in Forza. Like you have the weather changes, the season changes, and
different
then you
seasons.
have,
Yeah.
These these live events where it's several people need to compete in this and do enough miles in this or whatever, and it's like there's always content there. Basically, it's not one of those where you're waiting on, I don't know, an extra Back for Blood level or something like that.
Yes.
It's there's always things, keeping people ticking over in those games, and I'm interested to see what the DLCs will be because that Lego DLC for 4 was really good. It was tremendous. Yeah, I mean, just playing Everything Is Awesome on a loop like a mad woman, and just playing that game for hours on end. Yeah, real good fun. So yeah, I don't think there's as big a drop off on these kinds of games as there is in say, I don't know, Aliens Fireteam, which probably 2 people are playing right now.
Yeah.
So, which is good.
I'd like to try and play co-op with either or both of you, just because it's like a weird conundrum because it's such a pick up and play game that you can forget that you can do things, but I don't know, the multiplayer kind of interests me because there are once you in that first area there's 4 races and you get a star or whatever for finishing, and then you get another star for beating it, finishing first, and then every race has basically there's an extra star if you post a rivals time, and the rivals time is the asynchronous competitive with your friends thing, where it's I'm in A class, I'm posting a time. Do you want to beat me, Ben? You need to beat that time with, and I might be in your race. Question, Drivatar question. But the general idea of like, oh yeah, you posted this 1 minute lap time. How the fuck did you manage that in A class? Like, that's a thing that I would be more interested in. It might actually
Yes.
get me interested in tuning and stuff, more than the generic I'm playing the race faster question
Yeah,
mark.
if you had a ghost of your playthrough, as previous games have kind of done, you know a lot of that in kind of like Gran Turismo, where you've played a lap, and it will then put your ghost kind of on the map that you can race against, sort of thing, to see how well you're doing versus previous playthroughs of this. If it suddenly said Lucy has this is a replay of Lucy playing this race or Aadil playing this race, you will now race against that. This is the best time they've done it in. You're now going to be playing against their ghost car, driving around and doing that. Now do that. Absolutely. That would keep me in this a lot longer, because it would give me a kind of a competition in terms of us not having to be on at exactly the same time and finding that time to be like, oh, I've got 20 minutes now. Let's kind of play. It would be much more like, oh, I see how well they've done this. Amazing. Let me see if I can beat it.
You lot want a lot of different things out of this game than I do. I just want to do press ups underneath a waterfall at a landmark. That's all. That's how I feel. So get a stupid horn and just
beep it constantly.
Yeah, like all these nice historic, 1,000 years old ruins. I just want to floss on like a ancient Incan ruin or something like that. That's all I want to do in these games. Yeah, we want different things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I
guess I'm really looking forward to starting. It's the only thing downloaded on that Xbox other than Hitman 3, which I left downloading overnight. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Nice, good.
Can't wait to see how it is.
So just to wrap up, I'm super curious what your thoughts are, Lucy, as a veteran. But I kind of just want to play more of the franchise more than the rest of us, I think. But anyway, but also I super want to know what it's like to play with other people, despite the fact the reason why I like this recent game is I don't need to play with other people. But like, I do think there's an interesting thing where the Drivatars seem to literally give up the ghost, when the ghost is kind of what Ben was saying is intriguing. Like, we'll see how that shakes out. But also, if the co-op modes do more, I'm happy to lose the ghost if it means something. And I haven't been able to explore those things because, well, you know, people need to be free at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
I'll hop in and something like that. Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure we'll get some time. Yeah.
Server. Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Let's finish there this week then, and we'll return to our beers. Lucy, you kicked off the episode with the Wiper and True. Have you got any further thoughts on it?
No, it lasted, as I said, it lasted quite a long time because it was just a good beer to sup on, like, over time. Very citrusy, very orangey, nice bit of bitterness. There's not much to say about it other than it's just a really good pale ale. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you've had a pale ale at this point. You probably know what to expect. This is just a very good one. Yeah, I wish it was had a bit more body, but yeah, that is just a nitpick. Otherwise, it's just a very, very good, confident beer. The flavors are probably more bold and less, subtle than you expect from Wiper and True, but that's no bad thing. It's very good. Probably the hops doing a lot of work in there. It is double dry hops, and that's probably why getting the flavor on there, and as well as the very pungent aroma. So yeah, it's very, very good. Brilliant. I like Cashmere, I like Mosaic, I like Wiper and True, I like this beer.
Perfect. A perfect beer for the evening then. Good.
Nice.
Aadil, how about you? The Nepomucen versus the Peninsula.
Cervecero Peninsula. I have to. I mean, it's probably not a shock that I'm giving it to the first one. The stout was boozy. I can feel it. I finished it. 33 centiliters, but 9.5%, and nary a dinner to be had. I'm feeling it. But like I said at the start, nothing really changed. I was just kind of disappointed that those chocolate notes were kind of pushed away by the coconut and marshmallow. I didn't. The marshmallow, the only way I felt it was because it was airy and everything else was kind of light. But at a 9.5% Imperial Stout, it was thick enough texture-wise, but the tastes were just kind of thin. Like it just was like everything felt like. I think Lucy described my description as a sprinkling on after the fact or something along those lines, and that's kind of how it felt. It was just like, oh right, yeah, chocolate, sure, coconut, sure. And I wanted something a little more deep. I don't need 9.5% for the sake of it. I want it because it brings boisterous flavor with it, and I just didn't have that. While the Rich Yuzu Hazy Imperial Nipa Galaxy plus Motueka, I'm sure some of that isn't the name, and it's just the label, but it did kind of everything the opposite way. Like this was juicy enough. It got that like yuzu juice was there to give it a citrus sweetness, but it didn't drag it out. The flavors didn't overstay their welcome. I still had that bitterness that I couldn't quite identify, but it made sure that and it was separate, so it really didn't feel like a citrus bitterness. So it felt like this is an IPA with a layer of bitterness and some really interesting citrus notes via the yuzu juice, and it didn't feel like it was fighting with those notes didn't fight with each other, but they were separate, which is actually kind of hard to do. You know, they weren't melded nor were they fighting, and it was just a joy to drink, and I kind of just drank it real quick. So it's that one.
Brilliant, nice, good. For me, both beers were really good. I really enjoyed them. The wit beer, the Haacht wit beer, was great. Nice and kind of cozy as well. You know, a bit more sort of an autumnal sort of flavour to it, with that little bit of heat and that kind of herbal note to it. The Neon Raptor, the double IPA, Stay Out, super soft. As I said, has a little bit of everything really from that double IPA kind of range that people are experimenting with and changing up and have been kind of iterating on. I don't really know which one I would pick out of the two because they're both different beers. I would absolutely drink both again. I think maybe I'd go with the Haacht just because it's a beer that I think I can drink. I smash that bottle back and I think I could absolutely have another one, and then I can have another one, and I can have another one. This Stay Out, I'm very satisfied with what I've had in one can and be like, yep, don't need any more. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like, I like one beer because I can drink it more and would continue to drink more. I like one beer because it satisfied me in one can and I don't need to drink kind of any more.
Do it. Do both of them. Do a Lucy.
Both in the same can.
Both at the same time. Yeah, a little swig of one, little swig of the other one. Don't drink beers like that. Absolutely not. Yeah, I don't know. Both of them are really good, and I would drink them both again. Fuck it.
Do a Lucy.
I'm doing a Lucy. Drink both beers. Yay! They're both really good.
Nice, excellent. Love to hear it.
Yeah. So they have been the beers that we have drank this evening. The games that we've been playing over the last week. If you'd like to let us know what you've been drinking or what you've been playing, you can do so in lots of different ways. We are at Tanked Up Cast over on the socials. You can go to outoflives.net to listen to the podcast, to see our faces, to see the beers that we have drank as well. And you can get a lot of other stuff over at outoflives.net. We put up reviews. Aadil's been dropping a lot of his first looks videos in the last couple of weeks as well, going back in time over the last couple of months and through the summer. for the various games that he has played too. There's lots of other stuff at outoflives.net as well from our regular contributors like Kyle and Lee and Adam as well, who's, I think, dropping another Crusader Kings 3 article very, very soon. So you can keep up to date with him on that as well.
He's a dirty kinslayer.
You've already read it, don't spoil it. You can get all of us at Out of Lives net on the socials, or go to Out of Lives Network here on Twitch or on the YouTube, again, to see our faces, to look at the beers that we have been drinking, or to tune into Adam's First Looks, or to watch us live on the podcast. I am at Nova_47. Lucy is...
Juicy loose
Aadil is...
Sorry, I was thinking of that
At the
Inscryption.
Omniarch.
Mate, it's fine to think about Inscryption. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Like it might be just talk about it every single week. Just, hey, this game's called Play Inscryption. Hey, this game's called Play Inscryption.
I don't want to say anymore. We won't speak about it until the end of the year. The only time I'll speak about it is just bullying you, Ben, to go play it. So
Yeah, come on. Fucking do it already, buddy.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Says the guy who started it literally the other day.
Yes, exactly. Today.
No, literally today.
Oh, literally today.
Yeah, as in I got home from the train station and turned it on and played a couple hours before the podcast started.
Well, you're further than Ben, so...
That's true.
That's all that matters.
Yes, so they were our individual tags if you want to chat to us each on the socials or play some games with us and hook us up and play with us on Forza Horizon 5 if you're also playing that game and want other drivatars to maybe or maybe not just be bots in your game.
We can destroy the Mexican ruins together.
Exactly. Well, can you? You can destroy lots of cactuses and lots of trees. You can't actually drive up any of the ruins. I've tried a lot.
In 4, you could just run through all the brick walls, and it was fantastic.
You can take down some rough stone walling and some fencing and things like that. Yeah, but you can't go up the ruins. Yeah,
I can floss on them though.
Nice.
So that is us this week. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Like, subscribe, comment, do all of those lovely internet things to help us reach a wider and larger base and join in the conversation over on our Discord as well. And you can get in touch with any of us to send you a link to that. For this week, we've been Tacked Up. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Desiccated coconut.
Desecrated coconut.
That's my... I'm going to change my Twitter handle to that.
Yeah, you have been playing too much Inscryption, haven't you?
Bye.
www.outoflives.net